Every year, same carpet, same steps, same smiles. You've watched it 100 times. You never noticed anything wrong. Neither did I, until I started counting the seconds. I've worked this event for 11 years. I've stood 40 feet from some of the most recognized faces on Earth. And I can tell you, what you see on that screen is not what is happening on that carpet. There are documents that map every arrival, every pause, every position, down to 90-second windows. There are signals no camera ever captures. There are people standing exactly where they should not be, watching, waiting, saying nothing. One guest broke the pattern, just once, for less than 2 minutes. What happened next changed everything I thought I understood about this industry. This system didn't start in Hollywood. It didn't start in this century. And it has never, not once, been described publicly. Until now. Stay until the end. Because the last 30 seconds of this video contains something the Academy never answered. A single handwritten line at the bottom of an official document. That should not exist. Watch. Don't look away. The moment you almost miss is the one that matters most. I've worked events for 11 years. Premieres, galas, award shows. And in all that time, I've learned one thing that no one talks about. Not publicly, anyway. The Oscars red carpet is not a celebration. It's a demonstration. Every February, roughly 400 guests walk the same 150 feet of crimson fabric. Millions watch from home. They see glamour. They see excitement. They see spontaneity. I see something else entirely. I see a machine running exactly as designed. The first time I noticed it, I almost dismissed it. Almost. The carpet at the Dolby Theater sits at the base of a staircase. 13 steps. Camera positions are locked in, approved by the Academy, coordinated with the broadcast team. Weeks before the event, every angle, every focal length, every line of sight. The geometry isn't chosen for aesthetics. It's chosen because it works. Stand at the bottom of those stairs and look up. You are in the frame whether you know it or not. You are exactly where the system needs you to be. Here's something almost no one knows. The red carpet, as we understand it, the symbol of arrival, of status, of access, traces back to 1902. A crimson walkway laid for President Theodore Roosevelt's train arrival in Syracuse, New York. Not Hollywood, not entertainment. A political gesture. A signal of who was permitted to approach, on whose terms, and how. That origin was never accidental, and it was never forgotten. I want to tell you about a specific moment. A guest, I won't say who, arrived slightly off schedule. Nothing dramatic. 40 seconds early. He stepped onto the carpet and immediately moved to the left. Not the center. The left. There's a particular step on that staircase. Third from the bottom, where the camera coverage creates a dead zone. A pocket where no lens catches your face cleanly. He stopped there, just for a moment. 5, maybe 6 seconds. Around him, the machine continued. Photographers called other names. Coordinators moved other guests. The carpet kept flowing, but he stood still. And in my 11 years, I had never seen anyone stop there. Not accidentally. Not like that. At the time, I told myself it was nerves. First major nomination. Overwhelming environment. Easy to freeze. I moved on. But I didn't forget it. Later, weeks later, watching broadcast footage from 3 different camera feeds, I went back to that moment. And I noticed something I had missed in real time. In the background, slightly out of focus, something changed. I won't tell you what, Not yet, because at the time, I didn't understand what I was looking at. That step, that specific position on the staircase. It seemed like a small detail, the kind of thing you note and set aside. But investigators, and I use that word deliberately, would later identify that precise location as what one report called the first point of divergence in the guest movement pattern. Not a mistake, a fracture. The moment where the choreography, the invisible choreography, showed its edges. Here's what I need you to understand. The symmetry of that staircase is not aesthetic. It was not designed by an architect thinking about beauty. It was engineered for broadcast. The carpet extends 18 inches beyond what any camera frame ever captures. 18 inches of fabric that the audience at home will never see. Why? Because the system isn't designed for the audience. It's designed for the people walking it, to tell them, without a single spoken word, exactly where they are supposed to be. I thought I was watching Glamour unfold in real time. I thought I understood what the red carpet was. Then I started watching the clock, and everything I believed about that night began to come apart. Every arrival has a timestamp. Every pause has a limit. And somewhere, in a room that doesn't appear on any official floor plan, someone is watching both. I've seen the documents, not leaked, not stolen, handed to me, quietly, by someone who no longer works in this industry. They're called guest flow sheets, 12 pages, color-coded, single-spaced. Every name, every position, every window of time, broken into 90-second increments. 90 seconds. That's what you get. After that, the machine moves on without you. I sat with those documents for 3 hours the first time I held them. I kept expecting to find something that looked like event planning. What I found looked more like air traffic control. The sheets contain something no production manual ever mentions publicly. Hold points, specific locations on the carpet where guests are engineered to slow down. Not asked, not guided, engineered. The photographers aren't chasing the talent. They are the architecture, positioned to create pressure, to pull a guest left, right, backward, without a single coordinator speaking a word. The talent believes they're being celebrated. They're being steered. I spoke to a coordinator, over a decade on the carpet. No name. They were clear about that. But what they told me, I've thought about almost every day since. If someone lingers too long, we don't remove them. We don't touch them. A pause. We stop saying their name. The photographers go quiet. The cameras drift. And within seconds, that actor, that nominee, that star becomes invisible. Still standing on the carpet, still physically present, but erased. No confrontation, no record, no mark left on anyone. The most sophisticated behavioral control system in public life, running on live television for decades. Back to our guest, still on that step, 60 seconds over his window. The photographers nearest to him have rotated, new arrivals pulling their attention left and right. He's becoming an island. I'm watching from 40 feet away. His publicist stands just behind the barrier, completely still, not gesturing, not mouthing instructions, just watching, with an expression I can only describe as resignation, like they'd seen this before, like they already knew how it ended. 70 seconds over. A coordinator 3 positions down speaks quietly into a headset. Doesn't look up, doesn't look at our guest. Just 2 words, from what I could read of his lips. Hold position. I would later learn that is not a security call. It's a production call. It means, do not intervene. Let the system correct itself. And here's what the system does. It doesn't push you. It doesn't threaten you. It simply makes standing still feel unbearable. Remove the cameras, remove the attention, and every instinct that person has, every reason they walked that carpet, begins pulling them back toward the light. The carpet doesn't need enforcers. It needs only one thing: silence. He moved, not toward the entrance, not toward his publicist. He turned, slightly, almost imperceptibly, and looked at something just beyond the camera line. Someone, standing exactly where no guest, no photographer, no publicist should be standing, wearing an earpiece, watching him, not moving, not speaking, just there. And the moment our guest saw them, he corrected, instantly. Like a switch had been thrown somewhere he couldn't see. No one gives them a script. No one tells them where to stand. And yet, they all walk the same way. They all turn at the same angle. They all stop at the same beat. Every single year. In 1983, a consultant named Michael Sheehan began working with American politicians on something called physical communication coaching, body language, spatial awareness, how to occupy a room. By the early 1990s, the same methodology had moved into entertainment, quietly, without announcement. Today, every major talent agency in Los Angeles has access to at least one firm that specializes in what the industry calls presence training. They don't advertise. They don't have public client lists. But their influence walks every major red carpet on Earth. Here's what presence training actually teaches. Not posture, not smiling, light finding. The ability to locate a broadcast lighting mark without looking down, without breaking eye contact, without any visible hesitation. It sounds simple. It is not simple. It takes months. And the people who've mastered it, you've watched them hundreds of times without ever knowing you were watching a technique. I started paying attention to first-time nominees, people walking the Oscars carpet for the very first time. No experience, no preparation, or so they claim. And here is what I observed, consistently, across multiple ceremonies. Within 90 seconds of stepping onto the carpet, they mirror the behavior of whoever is directly ahead of them. Same pace, same pivot angle, same duration at each position. No one tells them to do this. There is no visible signal. It happens anyway. Behavioral psychologists call this social entrainment, the unconscious synchronization of movement between individuals in high-pressure environments. But there's a question that social entrainment doesn't answer. Who set the original rhythm? Who walked it first, correctly, so that everyone after them would have something to mirror? I pulled archival footage. Ceremonies from 1958, from 1971, from 1989. The pivot angle at the second camera position, identical. Across 6 decades, across hundreds of different guests, across every redesign of the carpet, the venue, the broadcast format. The angle never changed. No one ever announced that it shouldn't change. It simply didn't. Our guest. He's corrected his position now, back inside the frame. But something is different. He's not looking at the photographers. He's looking slightly past them, unfocused, searching. And then, for approximately 3 seconds, his gaze locks onto something at the far edge of the carpet. I follow his eye line. There's nothing there. No one standing. No signal. No movement. Just a section of barrier tape and a gap between 2 production screens. And then he looks away, and his entire body, shoulders, stance, orientation, shifts. 15 degrees, perfectly into frame. That gap between the production screens. I noted it, set it aside. Later, much later, I would find out what stands in that gap during every Oscars broadcast. Not equipment, Not crew. Something else entirely. Something that doesn't appear on any production schedule I've ever been handed. Here is what I came to understand about the system. It doesn't enforce compliance. It doesn't need to. It creates an environment in which non-compliance feels, to the person experiencing it, like personal failure, like embarrassment, like being lost. The guest doesn't correct because someone told him to. He corrects because standing outside the system felt wrong, felt like a mistake he was making. That is not crowd management. That is something considerably more precise. I went back the following week to the venue, off-season, empty carpet, no crew. I stood in that gap between the production screens, and I looked out at the spot where our guest had been standing. The sightline was perfect. Whoever stood here during the ceremony could see every hold point, every pressure position. Every moment a guest deviated from the pattern, and they could see it before the cameras could. The Dolby Theater on Oscar night is one of the most deliberately constructed environments on Earth. 12,000 lighting fixtures, 47 cameras, a carpet that costs more per square foot than most people earn in a month, and underneath all of it, a communications infrastructure that has never once been described in public. It's 4 p.m., 3 hours before the first arrival. The carpet is already alive. Security in dark suits at every transition point. Camera operators running final lens checks. Glass catching the late light like cut diamonds. The air carries fresh fabric, hothouse flowers, and something else. Something electric. From where I'm standing, credential around my neck, earpiece fitted. It looks like controlled chaos. It is not chaos. It has never been chaos. Every broadcast event runs on what the industry calls a security grid. Most people assume this means physical protection. Guards, barriers, credentials. That is the visible layer. Below it, something else entirely. Floor coordinators at positions the public never sees. Parallel communication channels running beneath the main production frequency. Hand signals, standardized, rehearsed, invisible to any camera. Passing real-time information across the carpet without a single spoken word. I documented 7 distinct signals during one ceremony. I learned what 3 of them meant. The other 4, no one would explain. Not then, not since. My coordinator contact agreed to speak one more time. This conversation was shorter, more careful. The most important instructions, they said, are never spoken aloud, not on an earpiece, not on paper. I waited. They're given through positioning. Where someone stands tells the talent everything. You don't need words. You just need to know where to look. I asked who taught them that. They picked up their coffee. Didn't answer. By 5:30, the arrivals begin, and the carpet becomes something else entirely. Gowns that took 6 months to construct move through light their designers specifically calculated. Jewelry from climate-controlled vaults catches 47 cameras simultaneously. The crowd behind the barriers produces a wall of sound that physically changes the air pressure on the carpet, and the guests step into it. Overwhelmed, luminous, exposed. Even knowing what I know, it stops you. Which is, of course, precisely the point. That sensory overload isn't accidental. Stanford psychologist Philip Zimbardo documented what extreme stimulation does to decision-making as early as 1969. Under intense noise, light, and crowd pressure, conscious processing narrows. People fall back on instinct, on training, on patterns rehearsed until they became automatic. The carpet doesn't just look spectacular. It functions as a system that makes the body easier to move. Our guest. Final position. Entrance threshold. 5 seconds. His body is still angled 3 degrees off the optimal camera axis. 3 seconds. 47 cameras running. Crowd at full volume. Heat from the rig above him rising visibly off the fabric. 1 second. He corrects. Completely. Smoothly. No visible trigger. The camera catches his face at the precise moment. That photograph runs in 17 publications the following morning. I reviewed the footage frame by frame. At 0.4 seconds before he corrected, a figure at the edge of the production gap shifted their weight. Left foot forward. Not a gesture. Not a signal anyone would recognize. Just a weight shift. And our guest responded. Faster than conscious thought allows. Which means one of 2 things. Either he was trained to respond to something that precise, or the decision wasn't entirely his. I've stood on that carpet in the noise and the light and the impossible glamour of it all. And I've asked myself the same question every time. If this system exists here, where else is it running? I started looking. And what I found went back much further than Hollywood. Much further than any award ceremony ever held. Much further than anyone had ever told me to look. Before I finish, I need you to do one thing. Go back to part 1. Find the moment our guest stops on that step. Don't watch him. Watch the gap between the 2 production screens behind him. Then come back and write one word. System. If you saw someone standing there. Empty. If you didn't. Because I showed that frame to 6 people. 4 saw something. 2 didn't. The 2 who didn't had both worked that carpet before. The red carpet is older than Hollywood. In 458 BC, Aeschylus wrote a scene in which Agamemnon returns from Troy. His wife lays a crimson path before him. He refuses to walk it, calls it an honor for gods, not men. She insists. He walks it. He is dead within the hour. Scholars have debated that scene for 2,000 years. Nobody asks the obvious question: who laid the carpet, and why she needed him on it? I pulled records beyond Hollywood, the Vatican, Buckingham Palace, Kremlin State Archives, partially declassified in 1994. Every major power structure in modern history used the same spatial protocol. A designated path, a controlled approach, a point of no return. The aesthetics change. The geometry never does. The person walking believes they are being celebrated. They are being displayed. Here is what I was never supposed to find. The Academy's original carpet protocol, the spatial layout, the camera positions, the arrival sequencing, was not developed internally. It was adapted from a military ceremonial framework used for White House state visits. The same system that controls where a foreign head of state stands, for how long, under what lighting. I found the consultation documents, 3 pages, unmarked letterhead, dated 1948, 4 years before the first televised Oscars ceremony. Someone designed this system before the cameras even existed. Our guest walked the carpet again the following year, flawlessly. Every position, every angle, every hold point. Perfect. But here's what stayed with me. At one specific moment, unprompted, mid-stride, he glanced toward the gap between the production screens. Briefly, casually, like someone checking in with a presence they were never supposed to acknowledge. I don't know what he saw. I don't know what was said to him between that first appearance and his return. I don't know if anyone said anything at all. And that uncertainty is the part that keeps me awake. I submitted a formal press inquiry to the Academy. 14 questions, documented, sourced. The response arrived in 4 days. 1 paragraph. Standard broadcast coordination, industry practice, nothing unusual. 0 of my 14 questions answered, but at the bottom, below the official statement, a single handwritten line. not signed. Some things work because no one looks too closely. I've never been able to identify who wrote it. They don't break the rules. Because by the time they reach that carpet, they have already become the rules. You think you're watching glamour, freedom, celebration, but you're watching the most perfectly engineered movement in public life. A system so refined, so invisible, that the people inside it would swear it was their own idea. And maybe that's the thing that should unsettle you most. Not that the system exists, but that it works best when no one inside it can feel it at all.